Hello students, we are going to start our new topic, that is circulation in animals. All of you knows that the process of circulation is very essential, by which the required nutrients and the gases like oxygen is supplied to the body tissue, while unwanted material like nitrogenous waste and gases like CO2, they are collected from the different body parts. In higher animals, the circulation is carried out by the special fluid. That fluid is called as blood and lymph. The higher animals from Annelida to the chordates, they have the special circulating fluid, that is the blood, which is pumped to the tissue by herd through the blood vessels. There are two types of blood vascular system in the animals: open circulation and closed circulation. In open circulation, blood is circulated through the body cavities, that is the hemocoel. The visceral organs lies in the blood-filled body cavities. So exchange of material takes place directly between the blood and cells or tissue of the body. Blood flows with low pressure and it does not contain any respiratory pigments. The open circulation occurs in the animals like arthropods and mollusks. In 11th standard, we have studied the open circulatory system of cockroach. In the body of cockroach, there are open spaces or sinuses, that is the body cavity. In the body cavities, the visceral organs are present, and in the open circulation, there is absence of blood vessels. Closed circulation occurs in all vertebrates and higher mollusks and annelids. In this type of circulation, blood is circulated all over the body through a network of blood vessels. Blood does not comes in direct contact with the cells and body tissue, so exchange of material takes place between the blood and body cells through intermediate fluid, that is called as lymph. The blood flows with high pressure and contains the respiratory pigments like hemoglobin for transport of gases. The closed circulation can be divided into two main types: single circulation and double circulation. In single circulation, blood passes through heart only once during each cycle. The popular example of the animal in which single circulation occurs is the fishes. The deoxygenated blood is pumped from heart towards heart gills for the oxygenation. The oxygenated blood moves towards the various body parts and gets deoxygenated and returns back to the heart for next cycle. The process of single circulation is shown by this figure. In fishes, the heart is two chambered, ventricle and atrium. The ventricle pumps out the impure blood through the artery, which goes to the gills for the purification. In the gills, blood gets purified and again it goes to the various body parts. The heart of fish is called as venous heart because it carries only deoxygenated blood. Second type of closed circulation is double circulation. In this circulation, blood passes through heart twice during each cycle. This type of circulation occurs mainly in the birds and mammals. So in double circulation, there are again two types of circulation: pulmonary circulation and systemic circulation. In pulmonary circulation, heart pumps deoxygenated blood to the lungs for oxygenation and it returns to the heart as oxygenated blood. In systemic circulation, heart pumps oxygenated blood to the various body parts except the lungs and it returns back to heart as deoxygenated blood. See, this is the diagrammatic representation of double circulation, which shows the two paths of circulation. One is pulmonary and other is systemic. The path of pulmonary circulation starts from the right ventricle. From right ventricle, blood enters to the pulmonary artery. Then it goes to the lungs for the purification. After the purification of blood, it goes to the pulmonary veins, which returns to the left atrium. While the path of systemic circulation starts from the left ventricle, from the left ventricle, blood enters to the dorsal aorta, then it goes to the different body organs, and from different body organs, it is again collected back by the superior and inferior vena cava. The second unit in the circulation is circulatory system of human. The circulatory system of human is composed of blood vascular system and lymphatic system. So first we will study the blood vascular system. It is composed of mainly three components: blood, heart and blood vessels. So first component of blood vascular system is the blood. Study of blood is known as hematology. All of you knows that blood is red color fluid connective tissue. It is slightly alkaline, that is the pH is 7.4, salty and viscous, which is always heavier than the water. So this blood is mainly composed of two components: fluid plasma, which is contributes about 55%, and second component is formed elements, that is the different types of blood cells, and these blood cells can contribute about 44%. The plasma of blood is straw colored. It is slightly alkaline and viscous fluid. Now see the composition of plasma. Plasma is composed by different types of components, which are given as follows. In the plasma, there is about 90% water. Then proteins like albumin, globulin, prothrombin, fibrinogen. These plasma proteins can contribute about 7 to 8%. Inorganic salts are there. These inorganic salts are sodium, potassium, magnesium, calcium, iron, chlorine, HCO3 minus, PO3 minus. These different types of inorganic salts contributes about 1%. The other components, they are about 1 to 2%. They includes different nutrients like glucose, amino acids, fatty acids, glycerols, etc. There are different types of nitrogenous wastes like urea, uric acid, creatinine. Regulatory substances are also present in the plasma. These regulatory substances are mainly hormones, enzymes and vitamins. Anticoagulants like heparin is also present in the plasma, cholesterol, antibodies, and dissolved gases like O2, CO2, and nitrogen. So these are the different components of plasma. The second main component of blood is blood cells or blood corpuscles. There are three types of blood cells. Red blood cells are also called as erythrocytes. White blood cells are the leukocytes, and platelets, they are called as thrombocytes. The first type of blood cell is red blood corpuscles, that is RBCs, or they are also called as erythrocytes. Erythrocytes are circular, biconcave, and non-nucleated cells except the camel. The red color of RBC is due to the presence of hemoglobin. The normal count of RBC in male is 5.1 to 5.8 millions per cubic millimeter of the blood, while in the female it is about 4.3 to 5.2 millions per cubic millimeter of the blood. The lifespan of RBCs is about 120 days. There are different terms regarding the RBCs. The formation of RBCs is called as erythropoiesis, and the erythropoietic organs in the fetus is liver and spleen, while in the adult the erythropoietic organ is the bone marrow. The old RBCs are destroyed in the liver and spleen. Increase in the number of RBCs is called as polycythemia, while decrease in the number of RBCs is called as erythrocytopenia. Erythropoietin hormone stimulates the bone marrow for the production of RBCs, and the cytoplasm, that is the stroma of RBCs, is rich in hemoglobin. Now see the different functions of RBCs. The main function of RBC is the transport of gases like O2 and CO2. RBCs can maintain the pH and viscosity of blood, and they also contributes in the process of blood clotting. See the morphological structure of RBCs. They are biconcave and disc-like cells. The thickness is 2.5 micrometer and the diameter is about 7.5 micrometer. Second type of blood cell is white blood corpuscles, that is the WBCs, or they are also known as leukocytes. WBCs are colorless, nucleated and amoeboid cells. A normal adult has 5,000 to 11,000 WBCs per cubic millimeter of the blood. The decrease in the number of WBCs below 4,000 is termed as leukopenia. The temporary increase in the number of WBCs due to some infections is called as leukocytosis, and uncontrolled increase in the number of WBCs due to the blood cancer is known as leukemia. These WBCs are mainly concerned with defense mechanism. WBCs are classified into two main types, that is granulocytes and agranulocytes, and this classification is done mainly on the basis of presence or absence of granules in the cytoplasms. So the first type of WBC is granulocytes. These cells are with granular cytoplasm and lobed nucleus with different shapes. There are about 72% of total WBCs. Depending upon the staining properties, these granulocytes are again classified into three types. That is neutrophil, basophil and eosinophil. You can see here the structures of different granulocytes. In the neutrophil, nucleus is multilobed. In the basophil, nucleus is twisted, and in the eosinophil, the nucleus is always bilobed. Neutrophils. The granules are large in number and stained with neutral stains or dyes. The neutrophils are about 70% of total WBCs and they are spherical with multilobed nucleus. Means in a total WBCs there are 70% of neutrophils. They are spherical with multilobed nucleus and they are mainly concerned in the process of phagocytosis. Means they can destroy the invading pathogens like bacteria and viruses. Second type of granulocyte is basophils. Basophils have few granules of large size and they stain with the basic stains like methylene blue. The basophils are about 0.5 to 1% of total WBCs. Nucleus is twisted and the function of basophil is secretion of heparin, histamine and serotonin. Third type of granulocyte is eosinophil or it is also called as acidophils. They contains lysosomal granules that are stained with acidic stains like eosin. The contribution of eosinophils is about 1 to 3% of total WBCs and nucleus is always bilobed. The functions of eosinophils are as follows. They destroy antigen antibody complex by the process of phagocytosis. They secretes antihistamine in allergic condition and they are also concerned in the process of detoxification, that is they produce antitoxins. Now we will see about the second type of WBC, that is the agranulocytes. They are about 28% of total WBCs. Cytoplasm is without granules and nucleus is large in size and not lobulated. They are again of two types, that is lymphocytes and monocytes. Lymphocytes are small of all WBC and having the large spherical nucleus. They are about 25 to 30% of total WBCs. The two types of lymphocytes are B lymphocyte and T lymphocytes. The function of B lymphocyte and T lymphocyte is different. B lymphocytes are matured in bone marrow and they are responsible for antibody production. The T lymphocytes are matured in thymus, which are responsible for cell mediated immunity. The helper, killer, memory, and suppressor, these are the four types of T lymphocytes. Monocytes are the largest of all WBCs. The nucleus is large and it is bean or kidney shaped. The contribution of monocytes is about 3 to 5% of total WBCs and they are mainly phagocytic in function, which can destroy the bacteria and dead or damaged cells by the process of phagocytosis. Thrombocytes are also known as platelets. These are cellular fragments formed from the large cells called as megakaryocytes. Thrombocytes are very small, oval-shaped cells without nucleus. The normal count of platelet in human blood is 2.5 to 4.5 lakhs per cubic millimeter of the blood. Thrombocytopenia is decrease in the number of platelets which can cause hemorrhage. The functions are blood clotting and seal the ruptured blood vessels by the formation of platelet plug or thrombus. And they can secrete serotonin as a local vasoconstrictor. See, this blood smear shows the presence of RBCs, WBCs and platelets. Now we will see about the process of blood clotting or coagulation of blood. Inside the blood vessels, blood does not clot due to the presence of anticoagulants like heparin and antithrombin. Conversion of liquid blood into the semi-solid jelly is called as coagulation or clotting of blood. Coagulation of blood may be an intrinsic process or extrinsic process. Intrinsic process is due to the contact of blood with any foreign surface, while the extrinsic process with damaged tissue. Intrinsic and extrinsic processes involves the interactions of various substances called clotting factors by stepwise or cascade mechanism. The injured tissue and the platelets release thromboplastin, which can initiate the formation of prothrombinase enzyme. Prothrombinase convert the prothrombin into the thrombin. The thrombin converts soluble fibrinogen into the insoluble fibrin, and finally fibrin fibers enmesh the platelets, blood cells and plasma to form the blood clot. See, these are the two pathways of coagulation of blood. Extrinsic pathway, damage to the tissue outside the vessels takes place, which can release the thromboplastin. In intrinsic pathway, damage to the blood vessel takes place, which can form the clotting factors. So the tissue thromboplastin and clotting factors, they together convert inactive factors to the activated factors. Then these activated factors convert prothrombin into the thrombin. The formed thrombin converts fibrinogen into the fibrin, and finally these fibrin fibers can form the blood clot. Again you can see here the process of coagulation of blood. Injury or rupture to the blood vessels. Blood vessel around the wound constrict, which reduce the blood flow to the damaged area. Activated platelets sticks to the injured sites. Then these platelets become sticky and clump together to form the platelet plug. The platelets and damaged tissue release the clotting factors. The blood clotting mechanism to form the fibrin, which acts like a mesh to stop the bleeding. So that's all about the process of coagulation of blood or blood clotting. Thank you.